Uh, I am resident of Colorado for YouTube. Joel Sands. I'm joined by my buddy Gordon Dymowski, my buddy Alan Gallant. We are here to review a documentary, Dressing Up for Halloween, the Ben Cooper Company story. So, for those who don't know, and I didn't know either until I was educated by these fine gentlemen here. Ben Cooper was a privately held American corporation founded in 1937, which primarily manufactured Halloween costumes from the late 1930s to the late 1980s. It was one of the three largest Halloween costume manufacturers in the U.S.
College and Halco being the other two.
Yes. Headquarters, Brooklyn, New York, 1937. Yeah. 1991, Greensboro, North Carolina, from 91 to 92.
They never really got launched down there before they had to declare bankruptcy again. They tried a big move, and it unfortunately didn't work out. They're primarily in Brooklyn when they're producing stuff.
Yeah. So you guys are older than me. Sorry. But what's you guys' fondest memories of maybe getting a costume that those guys made or from the company, or where would you primarily get them? Thrift stores?
They were in regular department stores. And, you bought them brand new. You could buy the masks off the rack, or you could buy the whole costumes in a box. And sometimes the costumes would be on cardboard cutout kind of thing. But mostly, if it was a full costume, it was in a box, 9 cents if you just wanted a mask.
Growing up, you could find them at Super X. You could always tell because Super X was kind of the CVS/Walgreens of the 1970s. And you could always tell because you'd get the box, and the box they'd have it, you'd have these boxes, they'd be on their side, but you could see on the bottom they had what the costume was. So it's like Spider-Man, and it was and they'd also have like the masks off the rack, but it was always a challenge because like in my neighborhood, you could either do the costume or you could make your own. So some years made our own. So like one year I was Batman because who wasn't Batman in the 1970s?
Absolutely.
One year I was the Shadow because they actually had one where it's it looks like the slouch hat and the eyes with the nose, but underneath was red cloth. And I think at my point they made them in different sizes because I think you could get like small, medium, large, or extra large.
Costumes, absolutely, they came in those sizes. Probably some of the masks. The stores we had up in New England were. I remember getting the Barnabas Collins mask, which was not a Ben Cooper mask; it was a Collegeville mask. But I got that at a place called Mammoth Mart, which was a discount department store, and they had a display of a bunch of them. They had Ben Cooper costumes there as well. But we also had sand, but you could, there are some smaller ones, like you mentioned, Rexall drugstores we had up in New England, a lot of, and they always had a display in September, October as well. So there were a lot of places you could get them. I mean, they were quite popular, I remember. Yeah, and you're right. You could make your own costume, which I remember getting masks a lot of the time, and then making or figuring out a way to put together something from my own clothes or whatever for the costume.
Yeah. When I was a kid, my mom took us to get some Halloween costumes, and she took us to Gabriel Brothers. Now, for those who have never been to a Gabriel Brothers, before they turned themselves into like a kind of a more modern, what Walmart clothing stores look like, because Gabriel Brothers doesn't sell food; they sell clothing. before they changed their look, I mean, they would literally have rows and rows and rows of not just costumes, but clothes. I mean, you could walk out of Gabriel. It was cheaper to get the Gabriel Brothers than it was to mall because you could literally walk out with a garbage bag full of clothes and it would cost you like very little money. And so on the far wall, there was this huge row of Halloween costumes. I mean, long. And my brother wanted, because he's a huge Superman mark, he's a huge Superman fan, wanted to be Superman. And I saw the Superman costume in this documentary, and he found one like that in Gabriel Brothers because they would get hand-me-down stuff. They would get, cheaper clothes, if you will, or whatever. And it was just there, and he got it and bought it and wore it, obviously. But it's just, I did not know that's what that was.
Right.
Right. As a kid. But
the interesting thing about Ben Cooper is, and it's named after the guy that actually founded the company, Ben Cooper, is that he didn't start out with Halloween costumes. He started out making costumes for showgirls and performers at places like the Cotton Club for entertainers. And so that's how he got started. And then apparently, when the Depression hit, Halloween became really popular because it was kind of a cheap holiday, a few handfuls of nickel candy and whatever, and costumes were already part of that tradition. So he and a lot of these expensive entertainment costumes weren't selling anymore. He wasn't able to, to contract out for that stuff. So he switched over to Halloween, started creating costumes that way, and a true family-run business too, from what the documentary was talking about. Corporate, even though it was a pretty big company.
Yeah. Let's see. For the documentary, the costume designers were saying they had to. I talked about how going up to Spirit Halloween, you would see different Michael Myers masks. So they would make different costumes each year for the season. Different Batman-looking costumes, different Superman, but not just that. They had Mickey Mouse, the Universal Monsters. There was, I think, what they say, there were 16 My Little Ponies. Like, Jesus.
Yeah, they had a ton of variations of things like Strawberry Shortcake later on in the life of the company. But they also would go to film production companies and try to get the rights to popular characters that way. That's how they got Star Wars.
Yeah. Yeah. They said about because they put the face on the T-shirt because some people didn't like wearing the mask.
Yeah, these masks were like a weird kind of plasticky thing where you've got two solidly cut eye holes and maybe a slit for a mouth, and it was tied by, it was basically a rubber band. So, breathing became, so you'd have to put it on your head. Well, if you've got your mask on your head, what's the rest of you? So they, I talked about the artist who did it, where, he was very striking and he had a great sense of design. Mm-hmm. And it turns out part of the issue why it was so striking was that he would collaborate with Ben Cooper, and Ben Cooper was colorblind.
Yeah. So they would have to describe colors to each other, but the artist, I forget his name now, but the line work is really striking. The stuff that he did, as well as the colors.
Yeah.
Really kind of cool stuff.
Yeah, the shirts, I mean, from a drawing standpoint, look fantastic on this documentary. Which I will leave when we're done here. I'll leave a link to the documentary in the description box. It's really worth watching.
Yeah, it's free to watch. And also, while I'm interrupting, like, share, and subscribe to this video. Help Jewel out a bit. Get the word out. We need more people watching.
True. Spread the word.
Yes, we appreciate everybody who watches it.
Absolutely.
With this, guys, with this documentary, they got people who worked for Ben Cooper, worked there, and they talked about how designing Batman, designing Superman meant a lot to them because they were fans. I mean, you could sort of tell they were fans of it. And when George Lucas made Star Wars, because again, I wasn't born yet when Star Wars came out.
Right.
Like, how big was Star Wars when it hit? Like, initially,
It was huge.
It was super popular. Where in school we had contests to see who could see Star Wars the greatest number of times.
Yeah.
The following year in '78, for Halloween, I had a pair of Star Wars pajamas. They had gray sleeves. I ended up just buying the Ben Cooper Batman mask and just doing I had a blue towel, and
Yeah.
I figured out a T-shirt with Batman, but no, Star Wars was big because it seemingly came out of nowhere.
And it was a huge franchised outfit. Kenner got the rights to these toys, the little figures, plus the large Millennium Falcon and all of this stuff. So
yeah, and it was so big. With that release, I think it was a Christmas of '77 or '78. I think there's like a phase 2 that they weren't sure they could get the figures out in time. So basically, it was like what they released is you bought like a box that said, "Hey, look, this is your collector's case for you to get the new series of action figures."
Pick it up when it shows up at the store. Yeah.
Yeah.
Kind of thing. Yeah. Yeah. They did do that with some of the things. Kenner was releasing for sure. But you also, I remember, there were T-shirts, there were like kids onesies, all sorts
There was
of
a
stuff.
Christmas special.
Oh God!
You had. I think you could get like drink tumblers.
Oh yeah, at like Burger King and McDonald's, that kind of stuff. Yeah, you could. Yeah,
I think they had,
promoted the heck out of the first 3 movies.
Yeah, I think they even had like Star Wars cigarette lighters. I mean, you name it, Star Wars was on.
Yeah. It was I think it was probably the biggest merchandising campaign of its type for a film. Certainly for a film.
Yeah. I asked because I can only imagine how hard the costumes would have been to get, right?
I'm sure they were popular and flew off the shelves. Yeah, there's no doubt about that. Although they also made them in huge quantities too.
Yeah.
So
yeah, I mean, they probably knew how to do them for '78, but like the other two, as they point out in the film, they had to ask what's going to be new because you can't, if you learn what's hip in September, you don't have much of a turnaround time.
That's right. You have to be able to anticipate stuff from all these franchises that you're getting the rights from.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah. Which is why Ben Cooper never did a line of Love Boat themed Halloween costumes, because it was like, hey, do you think kids are going to be hip to Captain Steuben? No.
Nobody wants to be Gopher either.
Yeah, nobody.
You might want to be Isaac, the bartender. That's about it. My favorite all-time costume, and I can't remember if it's a Ben Cooper or not, was the Easy Reader, which is a character from Electric Company that
Morgan Freeman
was played by Morgan Freeman. Thank you. And the costume looked similar to what the Easy Reader looked like, which was a guy dressed up like a pimp. So you were actually playing Pimp Daddy when you got the Easy Rider costume.
Yeah, it was less Easy Reader and more Sleazy Reader.
Sleazy Reader, that's right. Yeah, yeah. He used to kind of jump out from behind the cheap scenery and things. It was amazing. Sleazy Reader.
Was there a Ben Cooper costume you guys bought? What was the first Ben Cooper costume you bought?
Ooh, I don't remember.
Mine would have been in the late '60s. It was probably a devil costume. I think I had the mask for a long, long time after the costume part was gone. I know that. So yeah, it was just a standard sort of, two horns sticking up like this, and the beard, and and the red. Everything's red. Pretty standard stuff. But yeah, that was a Ben Cooper.
Cool. They had talked about Adam West's The Batman, which was hugely popular, obviously, during that era. I don't know if did they say they made a Robin? I couldn't remember. But they had made Superman, they made Wonder Woman, they made the Universal Monsters, Star Wars, all these, getting licensed for these characters, the Shadow, Batman. But was there a Ben Cooper costume that they made you guys or wish they would have got to make that they didn't?
Well, the Collegeville Barnabas Collins was okay, and it's kind of cool today as a collectible. Obviously, it's one of the more expensive collectibles, but the artwork on it is not nearly as good as what Ben Cooper people would have done. The artwork on the Barnabas Collins one is actually it's like a copy from Land of the Giants, the lettering on it. And there's actually a guy standing like one of the the giant from Land of the Giants is standing there. So that was kind of a little cheesy. The costume itself though is cool because of its relationship to the show, obviously. But I think that Ben Cooper might have done a better job with the artwork.
Yeah, I don't know if I can honestly say that there's a costume that I think they should have done, because I think they hit most of what would have interested kids in their perspective. It's not like it's not like now where you've got so many different kind of franchises. It's like there's no call for like an Archive 81 series of Halloween costumes.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
But they should do a line of Resident of Collinwood themed Ben Cooper costume.
Right. That's right.
You get Joel, you get Ellen, you get me, you get Patrick.
That's right. All in one box for only $9.99. So, in the original rayon shreddable costume,
or if you just want to scare people, I'll send you a picture of me. You can put it on your T-shirt.
Just do screen print.
That's it.
That's what they did. That's what Ben Cooper did. They did screen prints on rayon costumes and vinyl costumes. That's how they did.
That's the thing. Like nowadays too. When I was watching this, I was thinking about when I had T-shirts made a couple of years back, and I went to a store where you could print stuff on T-shirts. Mm-hmm. If you get the picture off the computer, they'll put it on a T-shirt. Yeah. So I mean, you can get stuff.
You can. I mean, there's 2 or 3 of them within 5 miles of me that do that. They do hats and T-shirts. Yeah. They also do rubber stamps. Yeah.
And I think ours here, the guy who was there, he gets like licensed out through like local school teams.
Sure.
That pay to have him make stuff for them. Local schools. That's how they sort of stay in business.
Yep.
And they occasionally get customers like me. Hey, can you put this on a T-shirt? Yeah, sure. Yeah. What do you want on it? What word do you want on it? I want this. And you get T-shirts made. That's how that happens. So, and Ben Cooper, did he sort of revolutionize that or start that in a sense?
Well, I think he did in a lot of ways because of the artwork that was on them, because of the the style of the costume, because of the affordability of it, all of those things. Because I mean, he was coming up once he really started going with them. The country was in the depression or just coming out of the depression. So it could, he had to figure out a way to make it affordable as well, so that so it could become popular. But yeah, the artwork is very unique. If you look at illustrations, Halloween illustrations from the 20s and 30s and even into the 40s, other than those kind of costumes, very it's not that it's a different kind of bold, is what it is, and it's colorful. It's extremely colorful. Most of the costumes are really colored, except for like the skeleton costumes are usually black and white for the most part.
Yeah, yeah. Like if you wanted to like dress as like a certain like Jason, like you like you'd watch the movies, like you'd get a sack mask for Jason Part 2.
Yep, you can make your own basically for Jason. I mean that's pretty easy to do, just like it is for for the Halloween movies too. It's easy to make your own costume. You get a pair of coveralls, you're all set. You just need the mask. So,
here's a question for you guys: did you ever get your face painted for Halloween when you were a kid?
no, but I used to do face paint for Halloween.
Cool.
So I used to do other kids when I was an adult.
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't do that.
I actually did once, kind of. My mom was taking me to a Halloween event, and we didn't have money for a costume, so she like made it look like she took some of her makeup, made it look like I had a black eye. We wrapped some gauze around my head, so we made all sorts of scars and scratches.
Mm-hmm.
Luckily, DCFS was not called.
Yeah. Nowadays, you'd have to put a sign on you saying it's only a costume.
Right. Right. You would too. You really would. I mean, because there are people who do go to great lengths to dress up in their costume. I've seen, I literally seen somebody go full on Snow White. I mean, the whole dress, like the makeup, the hair.
I gotta tell you, I know a lot of actors that do cosplay for various cons, Dragon Con, Comic Con, all these big cons that are around the country.
Mm-hmm.
There's several of them that take place right here in Orlando, so it's really easy for them to go and do cosplay. And I've got at least 2 people that have their own sewing shops and fabrication shops. They do it as a hobby. And they make costumes from Star Wars. They make various things because they're actors, and actually a couple of them actually do Star Wars stuff at the attractions. So they're really into it. And some of these costumes are incredible detail, and they're expensive to make. But it's a hobby.
Yeah, I went to a con way back a couple years, like 5-6 years ago, and there was 5. Let's see, there was some Five Nights at Freddy's people there, like the Pirate Fox. Somebody was dressed as Pirate Foxy.
Mm-hmm. And some of them you can tell, they're just kind of weekend warriors, and some of them are pros. You can tell by looking at them. That's some real professional stuff.
This gives me a great idea. I should look to see if we can somehow get ourselves booked as guests at a future convention and have them handle like the plane fare, the hotel, the food, etc. Because I think it'd be cool to do something like this at a convention.
At a con. Yeah, it would.
We'd have to keep. I think with Patrick we'd have to just keep him on decaf. I think it would be fun.
Yeah,
love you, Patrick.
Yeah. We can do Q&As about various things that we, purport to have expertise.
Yeah, like
on,
we could talk about why the single most important character in Dark Shadows canon is not Barnabas, it's not Quentin, it's not Victoria Winters, it's not Angelique, it's the ghost of Damian Edwards in Parallel Time 1970.
That's right. And
he is the linchpin.
He is. He's also the lunch pail. And his terry cloth ensemble, set the tone for sartorial splendor for at least the next 5 years.
Mm-hmm.
So, especially in bathhouses.
What's weird is when
we have people throwing stuff at us.
Well, what's crazy about that is when you first watch that and you're watching the Ghost of Damien Edwards, it's like, okay, where are they taking this? Did Quentin really kill this guy?
Took it nowhere. It didn't really go anywhere except, hey, it's Damien Edwards. Hey, it's Damien Edwards. He had this big secret, and it was, I guess, it was sort of a catalyst to get Quentin to try to kill himself and all this other nonsense. But it didn't go very far. It was just to show you that Angelique was extremely duplicitous and that she had sex with many men, even when she was with Quentin. So, or that was the inference anyway, the implication.
Did we really need the implication?
I don't know. I know. I think we already knew that Angelique was kind of evil and she was dead, so she was the evil dead. So,
well, it's like
could have brought Bruce Campbell in and filled us in on the details.
Yeah, absolutely. Because characters on Dark Shadows sleeping around with other characters from a fictional sense. I mean, that's not Quentin was basic.
In 1897, it was Quentin, but in Parallel Time 1970, it's definitely Angelique, and maybe a little Bruno thrown in.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. We don't talk about Bruno.
And Damien Edwards paid with his life because he was dallying around with Angelique. So.
Sorry, I wanted to reference the song and the movie at the same time. Oh my gosh! Is there anything you guys want to add about Ben Cooper's costumes in the documentary?
I thought the documentary was fun. It's kind of from a personal perspective of the people that worked for and loved Ben Cooper, as a person. So you got a little inside information, which was kind of fun with that. But the archival footage was fun too. Kids in the costumes and all that sort of thing. So.
Yeah, I mean, it comes off as a little dry at times, and I was surprised because these are the same people who do the toys that made us, which are really these nice, fun, really propulsive. They've done Barbie, they've done the Star Wars, they've done Transformers, they've done every toy you can think of. So, and maybe because they chose to do a personal story rather than a kind of it does kind of feel a lot of times especially towards the end, maybe a little repetitive.
Mm-hmm.
But I think it's worth it it's just a little piece of history that I don't think a lot of people know about.
Yeah, it's great in terms of that because a lot of us, it was part of our childhood, and a lot of other people it was too. So that from that perspective, it's very interesting to know some of that detail, that personal.
Yeah. Link to even though Patrick couldn't make it, link to Patrick Crazy Dark Shadows Day book about in the description box. Link to Gordon. Both are great too. Link to Gordon Dymowski's website and Amazon page will be in the description box. Link to Alan Gallant's YouTube channel, Collinsport After Dark, will be in the description box. And yes, link to the documentary on Tubi will be in the description box. Go give this a watch. This was really fun and educational to learn about. Yep. And to see all the cool costumes, how they were describing them. You could tell these people put a lot of work into them. Yep. Just really cool. I saw the C3PO one not just on a documentary, but on the wiki.
Yeah.
That was cool. That's cool. For sure.
Yeah, that was a nice gold lame little costume. The whole thing was kind of shiny gold. It's a cool costume.
Yeah. Have you guys ever seen the movie Guyver? I think it's called. It's a sci-fi movie.
Is that the one with Mark Hamill?
I'm not sure. It's about this this alien that this alien costume that this guy comes in and he starts fighting other aliens.
Yeah, I think
Guyver.
Guyver, right? I got it.
Guyver. Yeah.
The Guyver.
Would you guys like to cover it tomorrow? Or is there something else you'd like to cover?
I think we wanted to do at some point. We wanted to do
duck soup.
Duck soup. Yeah.
Okay. Let's do duck soup tomorrow because I'm not doing anything Sunday because it's Julie's birthday. And I won't be alive if I do anything Sunday.
And Jewel, duck soup is on the Internet Archive.
Okay.
It's easy to get, and it's only an hour and 10 minutes long. It's real easy to digest. And
there's a horse.
Yeah. Maybe we can do the Guyver next week sometime.
Yeah,
sure.
But is Damian Edwards in it? No, I'm kidding.
Perhaps he is, but Mark Hamill definitely is. Confirmed.
Yeah.
Okay.
And Charles Middleton is in this movie.
Cool. Yes, and so is Jimmy Walker.
Cool.
And Leah Quigley. So we know it's good.
Yeah, and Victor Buono makes a surprise cameo.
Cool. So tomorrow night we'll review Duck Soup by the Marx Brothers.
Yes. The four Marx Brothers.
All
this one has Zappo in it.
Sorry, my hands are like this way. All four. Damn it! All four there. Yeah. For Gordon Dymowski, for Alan Gallant, I'm Joel Staines. You guys if you guys can hear me because you guys are frozen, have a good one.
We can hear you.
Yep.
We can hear you.
We can hear you. No problem.